I'm Daniel, 42, a structural engineer who builds bridges, literal ones, the kind that hold up under pressure. My wife, Clara, 39, is a curator at the city's art gallery. Her world a swirl of colors and textures I've never quite grasped. We've been married 15 years. Our life in Seattle a quiet rhythm of coffee mornings and late-night talks about her latest exhibit or my latest project. Our daughter, Mia, 12, is the glue, her laughter the heartbeat of our home. Clara's always been my anchor, her sharp wit and warm smile the reason I wake up grateful. But lately, there's a shadow I can't name. She's distant, her phone buzzing more than usual, her eyes darting away when I ask about her day. I tell myself it's work stress, her gallery's prepping a big show, but my gut, the one that senses a fault line before it splits, whispers something else. Last Tuesday, I came home early, the rain soaking my coat. Clara wasn't there, though she'd said she'd be home by 5. Mia was at her friend's, so the house was silent, too silent. Her laptop sat open on the kitchen counter, a rare oversight. She's meticulous about closing it. I didn't mean to snoop, but the screen glowed with an email, half-written, to someone named Elias. The words were casual, too casual. Can't wait for Thursday. Same place. My stomach twisted. Elias. I knew him, Elias Moreau, the gallery's star artist. A lanky Frenchman with a smirk I'd always found smug. They'd been working closely on his exhibit, but this felt like a language I wasn't meant to read. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I'm a man who measures twice, cuts once. Instead, I started watching. Clara's late nights at the gallery multiplied. Her perfume lingered heavier, like she was masking something. She'd laugh at my jokes, but it was hollow, like she was performing. I'd lie awake, her breathing soft beside me, wondering if the woman I loved was still mine. The crack was there, invisible but widening, and I couldn't unsee it. I started checking her phone when she showered. Not proud of it, but desperation makes you a stranger to yourself. No texts to Elias, but deleted messages, gaps in her history. My bridge was trembling, and I didn't know if I could shore it up or if I'd have to tear it down. Clara's gallery event was Thursday, the one she'd been stressed about. She'd invited me weeks ago, but now she seemed reluctant, saying I'd be bored. I insisted. If there was a truth to uncover, I'd find it in the crowd, where masks slip. The gallery was a maze of light and shadow, canvases bleeding with Elias's abstract art, swirls of red and black that felt like a scream. Clara glowed in a navy dress, her hair swept up, moving through the room like she owned it. I stood by the bar, a whiskey in hand, watching her. She hadn't noticed me yet. Elias was there, of course, holding court with collectors, his voice smooth as velvet. I saw it then. The way Clara's eyes found him lingered, a private smile flickering before she turned away. It wasn't overt, but to me it was a neon sign. I sipped my drink, the burn grounding me. When she finally saw me, her face froze, then softened into a smile too bright. "Daniel, you came," she said, kissing my cheek. Her touch felt like a transaction. She introduced me to Elias, who shook my hand with a grip too firm, his eyes scanning me like I was a puzzle he'd already solved. The night dragged. Clara flitted between guests, but her orbit kept pulling her to Elias. A brush of hands as they passed a wine glass, a laugh that lingered too long. I'm not a jealous man, but this wasn't jealousy. It was certainty, cold and sharp. I left early, telling her I had a headache. She barely protested. At home, I sat in the dark, Mia's drawings on the fridge my only company. I thought of our vows, the promises we'd carved into our lives. Were they still real to her? Or was I just the frame holding up her new masterpiece? I needed proof. The next day I called a friend, Mark, a PI who owed me a favor. I hated myself for it, but I gave him Clara's schedule, Elias's name. "Just follow her," I said. "Tell me what you see." Mark didn't judge. He'd seen worse. I went to work, designing a bridge that would outlast storms, while my own foundation crumbled. That night, Clara came home late, humming, her cheeks flushed. She kissed me and I tasted wine and something foreign. I smiled, played the part. But inside, I was mapping the fault lines, plotting how to survive the quake. Mark called me Monday, his voice low, like he was delivering a diagnosis. "Got something," he said. "Meet me at the diner on Pike." I left work early, my heart a drumbeat. The diner was greasy, the kind of place where secrets feel safe. Mark slid a manila envelope across the table. "You sure you want this?" he asked. I nodded, my throat dry. Inside were photos, timestamps, notes. Clara and Elias, Thursday afternoon, before the gallery event. A hotel downtown, the kind with mirrored elevators and no questions. They'd walked in together, her hand on his arm, his head bent toward her like they were sharing a secret. Another photo, them leaving, 2 hours later, her hair mussed, his tie loose. I stared at the images, my coffee untouched. Mark's notes were clinical. Times, locations, a receipt from the hotel bar. They'd been meeting for weeks, always when I was at work or Mia was at school. The betrayal wasn't just the act. It was the planning, the lies woven into our life. Clara had built a parallel world, and I was the ghost in it. I thanked Mark, paid him cash, and drove home. The city blurred past, Seattle's gray sky a mirror to my rage. That night, Clara was chatty, talking about Mia's science fair, oblivious to the storm in me. I nodded, smiled, but my mind was elsewhere, replaying the photos. I thought of confronting her, shattering her facade, but I stopped myself. A confrontation would be too easy, too quick. She'd cry, beg, promise to change. I didn't want her remorse. I wanted her to feel the weight of what she'd done, to carry it like I was carrying it now. Revenge was forming, not as a plan but as a need, raw and unyielding. I started digging deeper. Elias's social media was public, a gallery of his ego. Posts about his art, his travels, and there, buried in the comments, Clara's name, a heart emoji. It was subtle, but to me it screamed. I found his address, a loft in Belltown. I didn't know what I'd do with it yet, but knowledge was power. I was no longer the passive husband, waiting for the truth to fall. I was the engineer designing a collapse she'd never see coming. For weeks, I played the part of the oblivious husband. It was torture, but necessary. Clara's routine didn't change. Late nights, quick smiles, her phone always close. I watched her like a hawk, memorizing her lies. She'd say she was meeting a donor, but her car's GPS, synced to our shared app, showed her in Belltown, near Elias's loft. I didn't confront her. Instead, I gathered more bank statements with unexplained hotel charges, a new necklace I hadn't bought. Each piece was a brick in the wall I was building, not to keep her out but to trap her in. Mia was my anchor. Her chatter about school, her hugs, kept me from spiraling. But even she noticed something. "Mom's always busy," she said one night, her voice small. I hugged her, promised things would be okay. But would they? Clara was stealing more than my trust. She was stealing Mia's mother, our family's heart. That fueled me. I wasn't just avenging myself. I was avenging us. I started planning, not with anger but with precision. Elias was the key. He wasn't just Clara's lover. He was her escape, her fantasy. I'd ruin that. I researched his career. His art was his life, his reputation fragile. A scandal could break him. I contacted a journalist, Sarah, who owed me a favor from a bridge project I'd helped her cover. I fed her anonymous tips about Elias. Questionable sales, rumors of forged provenance. Nothing traceable to me, but enough to plant seeds. Sarah was hungry for a story, and I was handing her a feast. Clara noticed my distance, asked if I was okay. I lied, said work was tough. She bought it, her guilt making her blind. I wondered if she ever thought of me when she was with him, if I was a shadow in her mind. Did she love him, or was he just a thrill? I didn't care. Love or lust, it was betrayal, and I'd make sure she paid. My revenge wasn't violence. It was exposure. A slow burn that would leave her naked to the world. I'd wait, patient as stone, until the moment was right. The journalist's article dropped a month later. A Sunday feature in the city paper. Art world darling or deceptive dealer? It read, tearing into Elias's shady deals. Sarah had done her work, weaving my tips with her own digging. Forged certificates, inflated prices, a collector suing him quietly. It was all there. The art scene buzzed, galleries distancing themselves. Elias's exhibit, Clara's Pride, was postponed indefinitely. I watched her read the article at breakfast, her face paling, her coffee untouched. "This is awful," she murmured. "Elias doesn't deserve this." I nodded, feigning sympathy. "Rough business, Art," I said, my voice steady. Inside, I was electric. This was the first crack in her world, and I'd put it there. She didn't suspect me. How could she? I was Daniel, the reliable husband, not a man who'd weaponize secrets. But I saw the worry in her eyes, the way she checked her phone more, texting furiously. Elias was crumbling, and she was tethered to him. Good. Let her feel the ground shake. I didn't stop there. I hacked into Elias's email, easier than I'd thought, his password predictable. I found their messages, a trail of intimacy that made my skin crawl. Pet names, plans, promises. "You're my muse," he'd written. "I'm leaving him soon," she'd replied. That one hit like a blade. She was planning to leave me, to take Mia, our life, and hand it to him. The rage was cold now, surgical. I forwarded select emails to the gallery board, anonymously, hinting at an inappropriate relationship affecting Clara's judgment. Let them question her professionalism, her loyalty. Clara came home late that night, distracted, her eyes red. "Work's a mess," she said, avoiding my gaze. I offered a hug, played the part. She leaned into me, and for a moment, I felt the old Clara, the one I'd loved. But it was a lie, and I was done believing it. My plan was moving, a machine I'd built with care. Elias was the first target, but Clara was next. I'd expose her, not to me, but to everyone. Her colleagues, her friends, the world she'd built. She'd lose it all, not because I screamed or fought, but because I'd engineered her fall, piece by silent piece. The bridge was burning, and I held the match. Clara's world began to fray, though she hid it well. The gallery board's inquiry into her professional conduct was discreet, but whispers spread like wildfire. I'd planted the seed with those leaked emails, careful to keep my hands clean. Colleagues side-eyed her at meetings, her authority eroding. She came home tense, her smiles brittle, blaming office politics. I listened, nodding, offering wine, my face a mask of concern. Inside, I was a conductor orchestrating her descent. The gallery was her kingdom, and I was turning it into a cage. Elias's fall accelerated. Another article, this one online, dug deeper into his shady deals. A collector publicly accused him of selling a fake Rothko, and social media erupted. His loft, once a haven for Clara's betrayal, was now a bunker. I knew this because Mark, my PI friend, was still watching. He sent me photos. Elias pacing his balcony, Clara slipping in at odd hours. Their meetings were desperate now, not romantic. Panic binding them tighter than passion ever had. I savored it. Let them cling to their sinking ship. Mia sensed the strain. "Mom's sad," she said one evening, her pencil pausing over a sketch. I hugged her, promised it was just work stress. But guilt gnawed at me. Not for Clara, but for Mia, caught in the crossfire. I doubled down on being her rock, helping with homework, taking her to soccer. Clara barely noticed, too consumed by her crumbling world. I wondered if she regretted Elias, if she saw the cost yet. She didn't. Not fully. But she would. I upped the ante. Using a burner email, I sent anonymous tips to Clara's closest friend, Lena, a gallery assistant who valued loyalty. The tips were vague but damning. Clara's meetings with Elias, hotel receipts, timestamps. Lena was sharp. She'd connect the dots. I didn't want Clara's friends comforting her. I wanted them to judge her, to mirror the isolation I'd felt. Lena's texts to Clara slowed, then stopped. At dinner, Clara mentioned Lena's weird distance, her voice cracking. I squeezed her hand, my heart cold. People change, I said. She nodded, but her eyes were elsewhere, lost in a maze I'd built. My bridge was holding, but the load was heavy. I wasn't sleeping. My dreams a loop of Clara's smile, Elias's smirk. Revenge was my fuel, but it was burning me too. I didn't care. This wasn't about healing, it was about justice. Clara had chosen this path. I was just paving it to its end. Lena's betrayal hit Clara harder than I'd expected. A week after my tip, Lena confronted her at the gallery, their argument loud enough to draw stares. Clara came home in tears, saying Lena had called her a liar, accused her of throwing everything away. I feigned shock, asked what happened. She deflected, mumbling about misunderstandings, but her hands shook. Lena had shown her screenshots. Someone had sent her Clara's emails to Elias, the same ones I'd leaked. Clara didn't suspect me. She blamed a vindictive intern. I let her believe it, my silence a weapon. The gallery board tightened the noose. They suspended Clara pending a full review, citing concerns about impartiality. Her exhibit, Elias's showcase, was cancelled outright. She spent hours on the phone, pleading with board members, her voice raw. I overheard her tell Elias, "We need to be careful now." Careful? Too late. I'd made sure their secrets were a public stain. Social media buzzed with rumors. Clara's name tied to Elias's scandal. Her reputation as a curator tainted. She stopped going out, afraid of whispers. I played the supportive husband flawlessly. I cooked dinners, ran errands, kept Mia's world steady. Clara leaned on me, grateful, oblivious to the irony. "You're my rock," she said one night, her eyes red. I smiled, hating her gratitude. It was a lie just like her vows. But I needed her trust, needed her to stay blind until the final blow. My plan was evolving, growing sharper. Ruining Elias was easy. Dismantling Clara's life was art. I wanted her to lose not just her career but her identity, the woman she thought she was. I contacted a blogger, a local gossip hound with a wide reach. Anonymously, I fed her the story. Clara's affair, the hotel receipts, the gallery's fallout. I included a photo from Mark, Clara, and Elias at the hotel, her face clear. The blogger ate it up, promising a post that would shake the art scene. I didn't feel triumph, just resolve. This was the next girder in my bridge, the one that would carry her to ruin. Mia asked why Mom was always crying. I lied, said it was grown-up stuff, but her question cut deep. Was I destroying my daughter's world to punish her mother? I pushed the thought down. Clara had made her choice. I was just balancing the scales. The blogger's post was coming, and with it, Clara's world would crack wide open. I was ready. The blog post hit on a Friday, a vicious exposé titled, "Curator's Secret Canvas. Love or Lies?" It named Clara and Elias, detailing their meetings, quoting leaked emails showing the hotel photo. The comments exploded. Art insiders, locals, strangers, all tearing into Clara's betrayal of her family and profession. By noon, it was trending locally, shared across Seattle's social circles. Clara's phone buzzed nonstop, then went silent as friends ghosted her. She sat on the couch, scrolling, her face a mask of horror. "How did they get this?" she whispered. I shrugged, my heart a stone. "People are cruel," I said. She didn't go to work. The gallery had already sidelined her, and now clients were pulling funding, citing reputational risk. Elias called her, his voice audible through the phone, frantic, blaming her for the leak. She cried, begged him to calm down, but he hung up. Their alliance was fracturing just as I'd planned. I watched her unravel, her confidence shredded. The woman who'd curated masterpieces was now a pariah, her name a punchline. Mia overheard Clara sobbing and asked me what was wrong. I took her for ice cream, dodging the truth. "Mom's having a tough time," I said. "We'll help her, okay?" Mia nodded, but her eyes were worried. I hated that look, hated that my revenge touched her. But Clara had brought this on us. She'd chosen Elias, chosen to lie. I was just the consequence. I kept the pressure on. Using another burner email, I sent the blog post to Clara's parents, her sister, even her old college friends. I framed it as a concerned friend sharing the truth. Her family's calls started. Angry, disappointed, demanding explanations. Clara stopped answering her phone, her world shrinking to our house, a prison of her own making. She barely ate, her eyes hollow. "I've lost everything," she said one night, not to me but to the air. I didn't respond. Let her feel the void I'd lived in since that email on her laptop. My final act was forming, though I wasn't sure of its shape. Elias was ruined, his career ashes. Clara was a shell, her life exposed. But it wasn't enough. I wanted her to face me, to know I'd engineered this, to see the man she'd underestimated. Not yet, though. The timing had to be perfect, the last girder in place. I was building a collapse she'd never forget, and I was almost there. Clara broke on a Tuesday, 2 weeks after the blog post. She sat me down in the living room, her hands twisting, eyes swollen. "Daniel, I need to tell you something," she said, her voice barely a whisper. I knew what was coming, but I let her speak, my face neutral. She confessed everything. The affair with Elias, months of lies, hotel rooms, stolen moments. "I thought I loved him," she said, tears falling. "But I was wrong. I'm so sorry." She reached for my hand, but I pulled back, my silence louder than any shout. I'd waited for this, imagined it 1,000 times, but it felt hollow. Her words didn't erase the photos, the emails, her promise to leave me. "Why now?" I asked, my voice calm, cold. She faltered, said the scandal forced her to face herself. "I want to fix us," she pleaded. Fix us? The bridge was gone, burned by her hands. I stood, said I needed time, and left her there, sobbing. Mia was at a sleepover, thank God. She didn't need to see this. I drove to the waterfront, the city's lights blurring. Clara's confession wasn't remorse. It was survival. The scandal had stripped her options, left her crawling back to me. I wasn't her husband anymore. I was her fallback. The rage I'd buried surged, not hot but precise. She thought she could confess and be forgiven, that I'd carry her shame. She didn't know I'd been the architect of her fall, that every whisper, every article traced back to me. I refined my final act. Clara's confession gave me leverage, a way to twist the knife. I'd expose my role, not to the world but to her, in a way that would haunt her forever. I started gathering evidence of my work, the burner emails, Mark's photos, the tip to Sarah. I'd show her the blueprint of her ruin, let her see the man she'd betrayed. But first, I needed to dismantle her last refuge, her belief that she could salvage our family. I returned home, played the part. "We'll talk tomorrow," I said, my voice soft. She nodded, grateful, clueless. I didn't sleep. I sat in my office, plotting the final girder. Clara's world was ashes, but she still had hope. I'd take that too, leave her with nothing but the truth of what she'd done, and what I'd done in return. The next morning I called Mark for one last favor. "I need a package delivered," I said. I'd compiled a dossier, every piece of my revenge. The emails I'd sent, the photos, the blog post draft, even a timeline of how I'd unraveled her life. I wrote a letter, not to confess but to explain, cold and clear. "You thought you could rewrite our story. I rewrote yours." I didn't sign it. Mark would deliver it to Elias's loft, where Clara was headed. I'd seen her text him, begging to meet. She'd find the package, not Elias. It was meant for her. I took Mia to school, kept my routine steady. Clara left for Belltown, thinking I was at work. Mark texted me. "Package delivered," Clara seen entering the loft. I pictured her opening it, her face as she realized I'd been the shadow behind her fall. The dossier would show her every step, how I'd turned her friends, her career, her lover against her. She'd see the engineer, not the husband, the man who'd built her ruin with the same precision I used on bridges. I didn't go home. I checked into a hotel, left a note for Clara. "I know everything. We're done." I'd file for divorce, fight for Mia. Clara's confession had been her last card, and I'd trumped it. She'd live with the weight of my revenge, knowing she'd underestimated me. Elias was irrelevant now, a broken man in a broken world. Clara was the target, and I'd hit her where it hurt most. Her pride, her identity, her belief in second chances. Mia called that evening, confused. "Where's Mom?" she asked. I said I'd explain soon, that I loved her. The guilt was there, but so was clarity. Clara had betrayed us both, and I'd protected our future by destroying her past. My bridge was gone, but I'd built a new one, for Mia and me. Clara could walk the rubble alone. I waited for her call, her panic, her realization. It didn't come that night, but it would. I designed it that way. Clara's call came at midnight, her voice a shattered thing. "Daniel, please come home," she begged, sobbing. "I got your note." I saw the package. She'd found the dossier, my blueprint of her ruin. I stayed silent, letting her words spill. Apologies, excuses, pleas for Mia, for us. "I know what I did," she said. "But you, how could you?" Her question hung, not accusing but broken, as if she'd seen me for the first time. I hung up without a word. The hotel room was sterile, its quiet a canvas for my thoughts. She'd read my letter, seen the emails, the photos, the proof I'd been the puppeteer. Good. Let her carry that. I didn't sleep. My mind replayed the last year. Clara's laughter, Elias's smirk, the crack in my bridge. Revenge had been my scaffold, holding me up, but now it was done, and I felt, not triumph, but a strange emptiness. Mia was my anchor, the reason I'd fought. I'd shielded her from the worst, but she'd feel this quake. I called my lawyer at dawn, started divorce papers, requested full custody. Clara's scandal, her instability would make it easy. I wasn't cruel for Mia's sake. She'd have a stable home with me. Clara texted, a wall of words. She'd leave the gallery, get therapy, do anything to keep us. I didn't respond. Her desperation was part of the design, the final weight on her shoulders. Mark sent a final update. Elias had left town, his loft for sale, his career dead. Clara was alone now, her lover gone, her friends estranged, her name a stain. I'd stripped her world bare, left her to face the mirror I'd held up. She'd see not just her betrayal, but my response. A man she'd underestimated, now her architect of loss. I checked out of the hotel, drove to Mia's school. I'd tell her tonight, gently, that Mom and I needed time apart. Clara would have to explain her own sins someday. My revenge wasn't over. It was a shadow she'd live under, knowing I'd won not by shouting, but by building her collapse with cold precision. I went home that evening, knowing Clara would be there. She was in the kitchen, eyes red, the dossier spread across the counter like a crime scene. Mia was at a friend's, giving us space for this final act. Clara stood as I entered, her voice trembling. "You destroyed me," she said, not angry but hollow. "Every email, every rumor. It was you." I nodded, calm, my silence a blade. "You destroyed us first," I said, my words measured. "You chose him, planned to leave me, take Mia. I just made sure you paid." She flinched, tears falling. "I was wrong, Daniel. I ended it," I confessed. "I cut her off. Too late. You didn't confess because you loved me. You confessed because you had nothing left." Her face crumpled, the truth landing like a stone. I gestured to the dossier. "That's what betrayal costs. You thought I'd stay blind, the quiet husband. I'm not." She sank into a chair, sobbing, but I felt no pity. She'd built this ruin with her choices. I just shaped it. I told her the plan. Divorce, custody, her things packed by week's end. "You can see Mia," I said, "but not here, not in my home." She begged, said she'd change, but her words were ash. I saw the woman I'd loved, but she was a ghost, replaced by the liar who'd rewritten our story. I left her there, the dossier her only company, and drove to pick up Mia. Clara's world was rubble, and I'd laid every brick. The cruelty wasn't in my actions, but in her realization. She'd lost everything, and I'd made sure of it. I took Mia for pizza, kept her laughing, But my mind was on Clara, alone with my truth. She'd never forget this, never escape the shadow of my revenge. It was enough for now. The divorce moved fast. Clara didn't fight, her spirit broken. The judge saw the blog post, the gallery's fallout, her affairs public stain. I got primary custody. Clara got supervised visits, her reputation too tarnished for more. Mia cried when I told her we'd live apart from Mom, but I promised stability, love. We're a team, I said, and she hugged me tight. I rented a new place, a bright loft with space for Mia's art, a fresh start. Clara moved to a small apartment, her life a shadow of what it was. I sold our old house, erased the echoes of her betrayal. Clara's parents called, angry at first, then quiet, accepting their daughter's fall. They visited Mia, but not her. The gallery fired Clara officially. She took a clerical job, her curatorial dreams dead. Social media forgot her, the art world moved on. Elias was a ghost, last seen in Europe, his name toxic. I dismantled them both. My revenge a perfect structure, no bolt out of place. Work kept me grounded. I designed a new bridge, a suspension marvel, its cables strong as my resolve. Mia thrived, her grades up, her sketches brighter. She asked about Clara sometimes, and I answered gently, never poisoning her view. Clara's punishment wasn't Mia's burden. But I saw the toll. Clara's visits were strained, Mia's hugs hesitant. Clara's eyes held my shadow, the knowledge of what I'd done. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. I started dating casually, a teacher named Sarah who laughed easily. It wasn't love, but it was honest, a step forward. Clara heard through Mia, and I imagined her wince, her isolation sharper. Good. Let her feel the life she'd lost. My revenge wasn't active anymore. It was a current, running through her every day, a reminder of what happens when you break a man like me. A year later, Clara wrote me a letter, hand-delivered to my office. She didn't beg, didn't apologize, just reflected. I see what I did, she wrote, and what you did. I live with both. She described her therapy, her struggle to rebuild, her pain at Mia's distance. You won, Daniel. I'll never escape you. I read it once, then burned it. Her words didn't move me, they confirmed my victory. She was living in the house I'd built, its walls my revenge, its foundation her betrayal. Mia was 14 now, stronger, asking harder questions. Did Mom do something bad? She asked one night. I told her the truth, softly. Mom made mistakes, hurt our family, but she loves you. Mia nodded, processing. I didn't mention my role. She didn't need that weight. Clara's visits were less frequent, her job consuming her. Mia didn't mind. She had me, her friends, her art. I'd kept my promise, built her a bridge to cross this pain. I saw Clara once at a school event. She looked older, thinner, her eyes avoiding mine. She hugged Mia, whispered something, then left quickly. I felt nothing. Not hate, not love, just closure. My revenge had been cruel, yes, but fair. She'd gambled our life, lost it all. I'd made sure the stakes were clear. The art world had forgotten her. Seattle had moved on. I hadn't. I carried the dossier in my mind, a blueprint of justice, a reminder of my strength. Sarah and I grew closer, her warmth thawing me. I didn't tell her everything, but enough. She understood, didn't judge. Life was new, my bridge standing tall. 2 years post-dossier, I stood on my finished bridge, its cables gleaming under Seattle's gray sky. Mia was with me, 15, snapping photos, proud. You built this, Dad, she said. I smiled, thinking of the other bridge I'd built, the one that carried us through Clara's betrayal. My revenge was complete, its echoes faint but permanent. Clara was a stranger now, her life small, her name forgotten. She saw Mia monthly, their bond fragile but there. I didn't interfere. My war was over. Clara emailed me once, a year ago, asking to meet. I declined. She wanted closure, but I'd given her enough. Her ruin, my truth. She lived with it as I'd planned. Elias was a footnote, his art unsold, his name mud. I'd erased them both, not with violence but with precision, a cruelty that fit their crime. Mia was my focus, my future. She'd graduate soon, her talent blooming. I'd be there, her foundation unshaken. Sarah and I were engaged, our life simple, real. I didn't think of Clara often, but when I did, it was with a nod to my victory. I'd been the engineer, not the victim, turning her betrayal into her cage. The dossier was gone, shredded, but its lesson lived. Betray me, and I'll build your end, girder by girder, until you're nothing. I looked at my bridge, at Mia's smile, at the city beyond. The crack was gone. I'd built something stronger, and it would hold.